Okay, we're going.
Okay, this is part 5 and will be the last part, and then you'll see another video for part 6, but it won't say part 6. What other video is on there? See, this is 19, everybody. After that, you're going to put on number 20. And take 5 notes for that one, okay? So to get full credit for this, you're going to have all these notes, 1 through 19. You're going to have number 20, and you're going to put World War II video, and you're going to have 5 notes for that. It's a great video that tells about the countries and how many people they lost during World War II. Okay, that'll be the system. There'll be 6 videos, 5 of mine and Jasmine's, and 1 of them that I also download from YouTube. All right, very interesting story. So you can decide if you think he was the luckiest guy in the history of the world or the most unlucky or somewhere in between. This guy named Tsutomu Yamaguchi, while he was in Hiroshima when the bomb came, Truman dropped the bomb, U.S. dropped the bomb because he wanted to save American lives and end the war. He didn't feel like the Japanese were going to surrender. So he gets A-bombed in Hiroshima, Japan. Somehow he survives. He's got burns, still got the scars. I don't think he's alive now, but he gets out of Hiroshima and takes the train to Nagasaki. He's in Nagasaki when the next A-bomb comes, and he survives. So what do you think? The most unlucky person in the history of the world because he got A-bombed twice? Or the luckiest person in the history of the world because he survived 2 A-bombs? Here's a picture of him.
Wow. Wow, he lived for a pretty old age.
Yes.
Wow, with all the radiation and everything. That's crazy. Oh my gosh.
This is his body.
Wow.
Survived 2 nuclear bombs. The famous guy, Yamaguchi.
Huh.
So I thought you should know that. And come on over, Jazz. We'll see a video. Oh, it just comes to you.
Yeah.
We got a system down now, folks. Remember, guys, get stuff in on time. You got it?
Mm-hmm. It went off.
Now, it took about 45 seconds from the time the bomb left the airplane until it exploded.
It's
and
the
I
real,
think there wasn't a man in
real
the
guy
airplane
talking.
that wasn't either timing it with his watch or counting or doing something. I was sure the bomb was a dud.
The genie's out of the bottle. The first time atom bomb has been exploded on people.
After falling for 43 seconds, the time and barometric triggers started the firing mechanism. A uranium bullet fired down a barrel into a uranium target. Together, they started a nuclear chain reaction. Solid matter began to come apart, releasing untold quantities of energy.
That's not real footage, is it?
This is not real footage, no.
No. I guess it's reproduced.
There's no footage there.
Yeah. So I don't...
Okay.
Jeez.
So that was Hiroshima. They did not surrender. The Japanese did not surrender. So it took Nagasaki for them to surrender. World War II is over. Now we're going to talk about the Holocaust. To go straight from that and the destruction of all these Japanese people. And speaking of destruction, the Holocaust. Basically, Holocaust means whole burnt in Greek. Hitler's final solution. So for this ×2, the Holocaust, Hitler's final solution, what he called, was to the final solution for the Jewish problem, meaning, here's my solution, I'll just kill all Jewish people. And remember, to make all Germany's problems because of the communists, then later all of them because of the Jewish people, that unites people. A way for Hitler to unite his German people was to say, all the problems are because of these guys. They're the scapegoats. He didn't say they're the scapegoats, but he's making them the scapegoats. So people get surrounded, they come together with their hatred for these people, and that makes the Nazi party grow and grow. Genocide is mass killing. Jewish people, gypsies, gay people. Why wouldn't Hitler want gay people around? If they're not going to have kids, what good are they? He wanted husband, wife, give me 6 or 8 kids, they'll be great soldiers. That's why I told you before, teenage girls were writing him, Hitler, I'll have your baby, I'll have a soldier for you. There was this cult feeling where people would do anything to please their God, their leader, Hitler, including, good example, he bragged about having Nazi men and women go into a stadium. Think about it. You got 30,000 people, about half of them women, half of them Nazi men in a stadium. Why are they there? To make Hitler babies, to make Nazi soldiers. And he bragged afterwards that there were 10,000 conceptions. We were going to have 10,000 new soldiers because of this one moment. Sick stuff. Disabled.
Including German disabled people?
Good question. Probably, if they're disabled. What good are you? Why should we feed you if you can't help us rule the world? Remember, he wanted to take over the world. He thought the German Aryan people, the master race, the Third Reich, would rule the world for 1,000 years. If you're disabled, why should we waste time on you? Why should we go ahead and feed you? Disabled Jehovah's Witness. I remember I was teaching this about 10 years ago in the high school. I mentioned this. I didn't mention Jehovah's Witness, and a boy raised his hand and said, Mr. Grady, don't forget Jehovah's Witness. Excuse me? A lot of Jehovah's Witnesses were killed too. And I found out later that he was a Jehovah's Witness. He belonged to the Jehovah's Witness Christian group. Okay. Auschwitz, Poland, and many other concentration camps and killing places. Let's watch this video, Jess. There are people now that said the Holocaust never happened. I remember I used to have a guy that was a World War II vet come and talk to our kids. And he said he'd have many people, oh, it never happened. He saw it. He was there. Watch this. These are all the concentration and killing camps in Europe to kill Jewish people. You think, oh, there's probably 4 or 5. No, watch how many there are. Here's the timeline down here. See, this is 1934, 1935, 36, all the way to 1945, the end of the war. Should I hold it for you? Is it hard to keep it steady? Here we go. Watch. Okay, there's one right there. Here we go. 35, 36, 37, 38, 40. One more time. I'll explain what the red circles are. Oh, shoot. It's not pausing. Well, anyway, just watch again. And the red circles represent how many, the amount of people that are killed in it. The bigger the circle, the more killing. There's Auschwitz right there. Auschwitz is right here. See it? Auschwitz. Oh, good. It stopped. I should have just left it stop. And which brings us to Jasmine. You want to talk about it?
Okay. Hi, everybody. So Chris wanted me to talk about my family. I was born in Israel, and I was born in 1970, so almost 50 years ago. Am I looking into the camera? I'm not sure. And so when I was young, the Holocaust was still incredibly pervasive. I would say the feeling or the after effects of the Holocaust was really pervasive in Israel because everybody knew somebody had family that died in the Holocaust. And so growing up, one of the things that Israel did was have a Holocaust Day, which is still around. I don't know if it's as powerful now as it was before, but we would stop 3 times a day. There was a huge siren throughout Israel, and everybody would stop for a minute, nothing. If you were in a car, you stopped your car, you got out of the car. School would stop. In school, we spent the whole day learning about the Holocaust, looking into like the Diary of Anne Frank. And so growing up with extremely horrific images of what happened to Jews in the Holocaust. And my own family, the story we had, my grandmother's parents and 2 brothers were sent to Auschwitz and so died in the Holocaust. And
That's in Poland.
Poland, yes. And she was lucky because her and her older sister and her brother all were able to get out before in different times. My one brother went to Argentina. Her older sister, came to Jerusalem on a boat. And my grandmother, my dad actually just told us this story. My grandmother, the way they got her to go out of Poland was that they arranged a marriage for her, and they had a summer student that came from Israel marry her with an agreement of immediate divorce the second that she got her papers in Israel. And so the second that she got her residency, which every Jew was given at that time, I guess after a while, because it was Palestine still at that time. And then she got divorced and then was matched up with my grandfather. My father's father who arrived in Palestine much earlier, one of the first boats, 20 years before that. He was older than my grandmother. And so she actually married, her story was that she married my grandfather because she thought he was a wealthy developer and that he would be able to get her parents and her brothers out of Poland, because at this point it was already 1939 and everybody knew it was already started, and people were aware that Hitler was sending Jews away in 1940, but my grandfather was not able to do that and was not able to get her parents out. And my grandmother was devastated her whole life. She had a very hard time getting over it. But the people that I know in Israel, and got affected very differently by the Holocaust. For example, we have a man. My original name is Halbreich. My father's name is Halbreich, and there was a man that was in a concentration camp, but he was very healthy, young, and so they put him in a war camp. And so throughout the war, he was working hard and was emaciated and survived. And he was able to get into America, into California, and both of his children became extremely successful doctors, and he became very wealthy, worked very hard, and was the most positive, optimistic person I've ever met in my life. And he got together the entire Halbreich family from all over the world. We had a reunion, and he wrote a book about his experience in the Holocaust. So there are people that went through this horrific experience and came out in very different ways. Some people, like you said before about the Japanese guy, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, that survived. Was he lucky? Some people that survived just felt like they got a second chance at life, and were just loving life and grateful for every second. Like this Halbreich guy from California, he just was like most grateful, happy man, and was just so happy to be able to bring the family back together. While my grandmother spent really the rest of her life in devastated that she lost her family, and even though she never actually had such a great relationship with her sister and her brother, because she focused so much on the loss of her parents and her two brothers that were lost. She didn't really go to the other side of feeling grateful that two of her siblings were still alive. And my grandmother's sister, who had the same loss, was the most positive, incredibly grateful woman. She had an amazingly happy life in Jerusalem, and they lived very close to each other, but saw each other rarely because they didn't have the same perspective on the loss. So and now Israel has been through several generations since the Holocaust. So things, we have a lot of immigrants from Russia and all of this stuff. It's a little different, but the Holocaust, there's a huge museum in Israel for it, and all the people that have died are commemorated there. And so that's the story. Do you have any others? Did I miss anything that you want me to talk about?
No, I think that's great, Yazzie.
Okay.
And I'll say it, everybody. This woman right here is the most positive, happy person, loving person I know in the world.
Thank you.
So you're, whether it's genetic or whatever, just to choose the love over sadness and
it's
fear.
also during this time that we're all at home. We're dealing with something very, very difficult or new to everybody, the unknown, and the choice is to feel to use this time to be optimistic and grateful for all we have over here. We're all in the Hudson Valley, have bounty of food and farms, and we have nature here, and we're really lucky. So anyway,
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Jazzy.
I'll
Okay. So the GI Bill, economic aid to veterans. I'll just put vets. Education. Hey, honey, I'm going to college. We can't afford college. No. I got the GI Bill. The government's going to pay for it because I fought against Hitler. Because I fought in World War I. It's going to pay for free college. Hey, honey, let's buy a 3-bedroom house out in Long Island. No, we can barely afford our studio here in Brooklyn. No, the GI Bill. They're going to super cheap loan, no down payment. We can go out to Levittown in Long Island. They got these new things called subdivisions they're starting around. We can live in a subdivision house where for 3 bedrooms we're paying less than rent. The GI Bill. So because of the GI Bill and because of the soldiers getting back from World War II, late 1940s and 1950s, we have what is called, think of it like this. Okay, I love you so much. I hope I come back alive. I can't wait to be with you when I get back from the war.
babies.
Boom!
Oh,
Baby
boom.
boomers, right? Because of the GI Bill, we can get a 3-bedroom house, and I want a baby in every bedroom. I want a baby. Let's have babies. if you look at the statistic, it went up from about 2 kids per couple to almost 4 kids per couple. Boom. And I'm almost a baby boomer. Don't laugh, Jazzy.
I'm not laughing. I'm smiling.
So baby boomers are people born...
Well, you put it down 1950 to 1960, so technically you're a baby boomer.
All right. I want them to think, oh, yes, I'm a baby boomer, but...
Barely.
Because I do some acting. Actors never mention their age.
1959.
Are you kidding? Some of these kids watching might be directors and acting stars someday.
You're in great shape.
All right, thank you. So that's the GI Bill. Make sure you know that for the test. There's 2 questions on the test. Remember, the test will be due by not this Friday, but next Friday, and I'll put it out early next week. Probably on Tuesday when this homework will be due. Okay, the Nuremberg trial is a place in Germany. Nuremberg, Germany. That's where we're going to put these Nazis on trial for what they did during the Holocaust. Okay? Those responsible for the Holocaust are put on trial. 10 of them end up being hung. Hermann Göring, the biggest leader that was put on trial, he was actually able to somehow get cyanide and killed himself right before he was about to be hung. So he's the most famous one that was on trial at the Nuremberg trials. Also, we had trials in Japan. Basically, the Nuremberg trials and the trials in Japan start this precedent. You cannot pass the buck and say, I was just following orders. Okay? So where it says can't, you cannot say you were just following orders. You have to be responsible. For example, if you go off to war and some guy says, just kill him. No, sir, we have to take him as prisoners. Just kill him. We don't have time for this. Kill him. If as a soldier you do that, you kill them, you can be held responsible. You can't go, but wait, no, I was following orders. My captain told me to kill him. Okay? Obviously, the captain would get in trouble, but you would get in trouble too. After this, you cannot say I was just following orders.
Well, that's how the whole War Crimes Tribunal in The Hague started.
Yes.
And also for
Crimes against humanity.
Yeah. Also, a lot of the Nazis fled to Argentina, and they had people go over there and find them out. And the Israeli government actually started this whole kind of not secret service, but almost secret service that would go out and hunt these the Nazis and bring them to justice.
Al Pacino, what is it on Amazon now? It's got the TV series called Hunters.
Well, that's about that?
Yeah, that's what that's about.
Oh.
Israelis going out and finding some of these Nazis that are still around. Oh. Most of them are dying off now, but still there's some being caught. Another thing we wanted to mention, Jasmine and I are watching a really good series on, is it Amazon?
No, it's, Amazon Prime, Home Fires.
Home Fires. Watch it. It's about England before and during the war. It's like the home front. Home Fires, I definitely recommend it for you and your family if you want to watch it.
BBC masterpiece. Your parents will like it.
BBC masterpiece. There's no nudity, none of that. You can watch it with your family. Okay, World War II results. $60 million dead. It's hard to let that sink in. And like we said before, it could be even as much as 100 million. I think the Iraq War, U.S. lost this. We were there for 10 or 15 years. We're just still getting out, or we're getting out. We've gotten out. I think we lost. It was about 6,000 U.S. soldiers, and that's terrible, and that's a lot. Think of a war where 60 million people are dead. Okay. And for the times two, put what we had on the other one. About 40 to 50 million civilians and 20 to 30 million soldiers. Okay, right there. U.S. and USSR emerge as superpowers, which gets us into the Cold War next. So we've got Soviet Union, Stalin. We've got U.S. Truman, about to be Dwight D. Eisenhower, who led the D-Day operation. So these are the two superpowers now. And Germany's divided this time. After the war, Germany was divided up. We should have done it after World War I. People are probably saying, all right, let's not make the same mistake again. We'll divide it up after World War II. But now Germany's back together again. They were divided up for decades and decades. Now they're back together. And Europe's divided too, unofficially. Okay, guys, if you know all these notes front and back, you'll do great on the test. And remember, for all homework from now on, it's 10 points off for every day it's late. Show college bound attitude. There's nothing wrong with having a system. Just because, when you're something like this quarantine, I really think it's good for you to just keep things systematized. People have a routine. It's the best way versus, I don't have anything to do. I don't have anything to do. Yeah, you do. Get your work on time. Be proud of what you do. Get it on time, and you'll be ready for the test that'll be due not this Friday, but next Friday. Okay, remember? So we got 5 videos, lectures, plus the one else I'm going to add on. To get full credit, you got to have 5 notes from this one. It's a great video, 5 of my lectures, and 1 that I'm going to add on. Don't forget to add on those to these notes. That'll be number 20. To get it 90 and above, you need number 20 on there, which can be 5 notes. You got to watch that video.
Now, did you want me to talk about the when I went to that Nazi couple's house?
Oh, yes.
I forgot to talk about that.
Because I wanted to mention that too.
The neo-Nazi thing?
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead, Josh.
So I was just, I had a boyfriend when I was younger, before Chris, and we traveled.
Way before.
Not that much before, but anyway.
All right, she was pretty young, probably not that much before.
And his family and I went together to Germany, and his family had relatives who were actually Nazis. They were like in Hitler's army, like very low level Nazis, if you can say that. But they knew I was coming, and they knew I was Israeli and Jewish, and they felt like all of their guilt that they've held inside. They wanted to I'm like the only Jew they've met. It was very weird. So they knew we were coming, and they created this feast for me. And they're older, because this was, when was that? 1991. So I was 21 or so. Something like that, 1990, and or 1992. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So they made cakes, and they were just apologizing and telling me how sorry they are for all the terrible things they did, and they had survivor's guilt. Like they were just feeling totally guilty. They said they didn't know that Hitler was going to be so terrible, because they got their house, and they got their little Volkswagen car, and
nice.
And they got all of their little things from Hitler.
So economically, they were much better because
they were, because they came from poor farmers, and so like they felt like they said if they knew like really the depth of everything, but they kept themselves in the dark, because at some point it was very, very, and so they felt guilty if they didn't do as much as they should have done, and so they was trying to make up to me by giving me Black Forest cake and stuff. Anyway, so that was kind of interesting, and in my life I've had a lot of weird encounters with people that were actually neo-Nazis that would yell at me and say that they wish all the Jews were killed. And one guy I met in Italy when I lived there that was in the German national tennis team, and we were in a bar, and he was going off on how Hitler was right, and he wished Hitler was alive, and that he wished he killed all the Jews, and he was drunk, and his friend he almost, and I stood up to him and said, I'm from Israel, you idiot, and whatever, and we had almost a fight, and then they went away, but his team was very embarrassed by him, and
he's representing Germany, talking like that.
Representing Germany, and so anyway, that's a story.
Well, I want to mention too, if you want to turn around, Jez, I know somebody who has a friend who was invited to a wedding about a year ago, just outside Albany. Oh yeah, sure, I'll go. So she went with a friend to a wedding. She didn't really know the couple that are getting married. So she goes into this wedding. This is about a year ago, outside Albany, and there's walls all around the estate of where they're going. And she goes in. She said every single one.
1 minute.
Okay, everybody there was dressed in Nazi uniforms, and the couple got married underneath swastikas. So there are a lot of white supremacist groups, a lot more than we think, in America, and they're filled with hate, obviously.
Yeah.
Not to scare you guys, but if you know anybody who's like, oh, white power, all that stuff, not enough self-love. I know it sounds simple, but they're hateful and they're taking that out on other people. So people get sucked into that. And love is...
Yeah, it's important to learn from what happened in World War II and not to repeat it, and not to let hatred guide everything and create these cults that destroy people and kill people, and based on separation and racism and everything. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Speaking of love you guys, and I miss you, and be well.
We'll see you next week.
Okay, see you probably in 2 weeks.
2 weeks. See you 2 weeks.
Okay, bye.
Bye.